Alright, we are back with another Fists and Minds instruction video. I'm Gunter, this is MiniMishaps Games, and today we are talking about making checks and dice rolls. So we have got our two characters that we made last time. Bob, the Yeti Acrobat. There's Bob for today's demonstration. And Jane, the Insected Intimidator. For our demonstration, I'll be using those two minis. So the main thing, I'll start with Bob here, is that the checks and this will also be attacks will be set at difficulties. And the fast version of the formula is going to be that the difficulty multiplied by 3 minus 2 is the roll that you would need to meet that difficulty. So a difficulty of 1 times 3 is 3, minus 2 is 1 again. So anything that has a difficulty of 1 you can achieve by rolling a 1 on a d20. Alright, so we have Bob. Here's his stats. He doesn't have gear yet. That'll be a future video, but here's his stats. When he's starting out, he's going to try and defeat this door. So he's going to be a fists choice in this particular instance. So he doesn't have to roll against the door. It's an inanimate. So it doesn't need or have an armor class. It's just an automatic damage. So he's going to go to his impact here, which says that his damage against the door is a d6. For the sake of testing our door, we'll say that the door has 3 points before it is destroyed. You roll a 6, door is destroyed. Kick down the door. Now if he wants to, let's say the door is locked, and he wants to try and pick that lock, that's going to be our skill. Over here, it's not marked. So he's not going to get any modifier on that. And let's say that this lock has a 3 on its difficulty. That means 3 times 3 is 9, minus 2 is 7. Our lockpick attempt has to roll a 7 or better for Bob to make it. You guys can see it. 14, he picks the lock. So in this case, Bob succeeded against the door in both scenarios. So you can be creative with how the other checks can be used. For each one, the GM will decide how difficult it is to, or if it's possible, to open the door with those things. Same thing, those 6 points, the 3 points, if the door had 3 points, could be expelled by magic or by force or anything like that. In this type of scenario, the GM would likely say that the door is not sentient, so is not capable of taking psychic damage. But those are going to be kind of how the calls are made by the GM on setting the difficulties. So Bob versus door. Bob wins so far 2 out of those 2 challenges. Let's switch it up and switch it over to Jane. There's Jane. So now Jane has got a more scary foe here. Here's Rosgood. So Rosgood's going to have that difficulty of 9. And so he's not going to be very easy to hit. But being a creature in battle, he is going to have a fists difficulty and a minds difficulty. So if you're trying to hit Rosgood with magic, let's say he's got that difficulty of 9, but he's not really wearing much in the way of armor. Let's say that his fists difficulty is only a 6. 6, 18, 16. So the how hard he is to hit, or his armor, is 16 on the roll here. So Jane is working with toughness, influence, neuronics, and strategy. And so because Jane knows that Rosgood is going to be a difficult foe, she may want to roll a strategy check to see if he has any weaknesses. So she can go ahead. So checks can have a simple succeed number, but they also can be a range. And in the case of most checks, it's a range that may or may not include successes. So Jane is going to roll a strategy check on Rosgood. Roll the 17. That's pretty insightful on the strategy. And she's going to figure out that Rosgood is weak against psychic attacks. So she's going to inform any psychics that they have on the team to attack Rosgood. And she is going to switch to influence to try and convince Rosgood to move into range of the psychic player that can attack Rosgood with an easier roll. So she's going to use that influence and strategy, but influence here. So to get Rosgood to move where he's standing, the GM here is going to say that that is probably not very difficult because of being able to play into his ego, and is going to set that difficulty at 3. So now we're at a 7 roll. There's an 11. Rosgood is convinced to move into position where the psychic damaging players or creatures can get a hold of him. So in this way, solved with no damage but battle. And then Bob and his door, solved with damage but no battle. So there you go. That's a little intro to the Fists and Minds difficulty system. So to give you kind of the scale, a 1 difficulty is essentially as easy as breathing. A 3 difficulty is more or less something that most non-adventurers, NPCs in the game, is kind of your middle ground. Half of them would be able to, half of them wouldn't be able to do a thing. And then anything over 4 or 5 is going to be in the more difficult without augmenting. And the ways that you do that is in the future video, which is your gear and magic. We'll talk about both of those in later videos. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying Fists and Minds. Put any questions you have in the comments, and we'll see you for the next video. Thanks, Internet.